I grew up thinking that anytime a woman sleeps with you, that's it. Like, she's attached, she's emotionally bonded, it's a wrap for her. It's not true. The second time is where that shit happens. Dude, the comeback fuck, that's it, man. Brace yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Something Something with Eric Newman. I'm Eric Newman, here as always from the podcast studio at the Comedy Cellar, above the Comedy Cellar. I'm with my producers, Zoran and John, as we are all together on a weekly basis. Very excited to be back. This is my first solo episode in a while, so let's see how codependent I really am. A lot of these episodes focus on the anticipation of, meeting someone all the way through that process of hopefully sleeping together. And then we jump forward to trying to sustain somewhat of a healthy long-term relationship. But there's that little in-between time that's very, very pivotal, which we've touched on briefly, but I want to really dive into it today. Let me pose a question first. So you've had sex. Now what? Well, here's the thing. Who knows? Nobody really knows what's going on after sex. Everybody's sort of confused. You're likely to have two completely different perspectives on how the night went. Guy has sex, and assuming he was a proper gentleman, which you always should be. I really hope you paid for her Uber home, by the way, dude. Don't fuck her and make her take the subway, dude. And do not make her take her own Uber. I had a girl complain to me one time that this guy she was seeing had sex with her and then made her take her own Uber home, which is just like insane, dude. It's like, be a gentleman the whole way through, from the beginning of the date all the way till the end. It's weird after sex with someone you've slept with for the first time. It's a weird feeling. No matter how complicated each person's feelings are after the initial sex, both people kind of come to their own conclusion as far as whether they want to do it again. You could be feeling, embarrassed, insecure, excited, elated, and any combination of all of those feelings. But usually both people have some sense of whether they want to do it again or not. And women seem to know sooner. Sometimes women know it's not going to happen again before it even starts. There's some level of being like, well, I'm here, whatever, we've gone this far, I'm curious enough, let me try it. And then they were like, oh yeah, I was right. Now I know for sure that was a bad move. I think women on average are more regretful more often of sexual experiences than men are. Because I think there's sort of a sense of men just being like, well, I got laid. I think if women generally feel like they don't want it to happen again, they probably didn't want it to happen originally. So yeah, I mean, like, if you're that person who has sex with someone for the first time, man or woman, and you have, that sort of butterfly feeling, you definitely want to do it again. And there's a bit of anxiety. There's almost more anxiety post-sex for the first time than there was leading up to the sex, because now you've put everything on the line. There's many, many, many reasons why a woman chooses to sleep with a guy the first time. And there's fewer reasons why she chooses to sleep with the guy the second time. I can speak for myself as a guy and friends I've spoken to. There's an anxiety attached to it because you're kind of starting from scratch again, but you're starting from scratch with much higher stakes. Because while you were leading up to the initial sex, there was still a curiosity. She had no idea what your body fully looked like, how you kissed her in bed, how, you took her clothes off, what post-sex was like. All of that stuff boiled up enough to the point that she was like, I have to find out. I have to try. And then after that, if she has no more curiosity, she's not having sex with you again. The curiosity has to grow. It has to be, oh, we had sex that time, and maybe it ranged from either decent to really good. Either way, you're still in the running. Because it's not how you moved your hips. It's not how you thrusted. It's the entire experience for the woman. It's how you kissed her on her neck when you first got into her bedroom, all the way to next morning's brunch and every pit stop in between. There are a lot of pit stops on the way to a successful one-night stand with a woman or a failure of a one-night stand with a woman. Guys think, oh, They finish and now they're in, and it's not true at all. She wants to know that after sex is done, there's foreplay and there's afterplay. A lot of people talk about how important foreplay is, and I will never push back on the notion that it is very important and significant in the grand scope of sexual intimacy. But afterplay is a very underrated part of intimacy. And so a woman wants to know that when she's done having sex with you, despite how good or bad, if it's too bad, she probably doesn't even want you to stay for afterplay. But assuming that it was at least a decent physical experience where you gave her some level of satisfaction and pleasure, she now wants to know what your pillow talk is like, and if you're going to go get her a glass of water, and how you are as a sleeping partner, and all of those things factor into whether she wants to sleep with you again or not. And women are very sensitive to those things, which seem very subtle but are very important. If she had a wonderful experience with you and even the pillow talk was good, and then the next morning you don't offer to pay for an Uber and just send her alone on the subway, that in itself could make her not want to have sex with you a second time. Because you're showing a lot about your character by not being considerate or thoughtful or generous. And those are very important things to women. And all of those things factored into her reason for sleeping with you the first time. So I just don't want guys to lose sight of this. She finds out so much about you by sleeping with you. And if the curiosity is fully gone after that experience, you're done. If the curiosity grows, so let's get into a woman's mind going into the first sexual encounter. Maybe the anticipation has been 2 years as coworkers in an office. Maybe the anticipation has been 2 hours and you met at a bar that night and then you bring her home. Regardless of how long the duration of that anticipatory period is, some of the subconscious things that are going on are questions like, I wonder if he's rough or if he's tender and gentle. I wonder what his favorite position is. I wonder how big his dick is. I wonder how he moves his hips. I wonder how he looks into my eyes when he's making love to me. I wonder if he kisses. There's all these physical questions. And then more of the emotional questions are, I wonder how he is right after sex ends. I wonder if he pays for my fucking Uber home, right? These are also questions. The curiosity is what blossomed up into an energy that made her have to rip your clothes off at some point, whether that be in a long-term way or in a short-term way. That curiosity needs to grow. So if she has sex with you and goes, now I know everything I need to know, you're gone. If she sleeps with you and goes, I have more questions, you're probably going to have sex with her again. I grew up thinking that anytime, and I was completely misinformed, I grew up thinking that anytime a woman sleeps with you, that's it. Like, she's attached, she's emotionally bonded, it's a wrap for her. It's not true. The second time is where that shit happens. Dude, the comeback fuck, that's it, man. Brace yourself, because you will have an attached woman on your hands now, man. Maybe that'll turn into a nice, long-term, sustainable relationship. Maybe it won't. But she will be connected to you in a much deeper way that second time. Because the second time, the anticipation from the first time to the second time is much more logical and rational. Because you already gave her validation sexually, and you've already connected physically. So now it's time for logic to step in a little bit and go, did I enjoy that? Now, it's all based off of emotion anyway, but some part of your brain, your rational brain goes, is this something I want to do again? I'm not saying it's like that black and white where you're literally sitting with, a pen and paper writing pros and cons. Not like that, but just there's some level of just, self-reflection. There's a self-reflective period following the first hookup. And so when she comes back for more, she really means it. The first interaction to the first sexual experience together, there's a huge gap. From the first sexual experience to the second sexual experience, sometimes an even bigger gap. But then once you get to that number 2, it's a much smaller gap. There's a million different reasons why a woman may sleep with a guy the first time. there are much fewer reasons why she would sleep with a guy the second time. So chances are, if she's having sex with you a second time, you are at least mildly in the running for a potential relationship. And this is what I want to say also. Like, I push back very firmly on the idea that any sex at all is casual. I do not believe in casual sex. I think it's the most intimate act you can ever do with another human being. I think that we label it casual to absolve ourselves of pressure in any given situation. I think it's sort of a way for people to just say, hey, I'm not putting pressure on it, and you're not putting pressure on it. It's just casual. You're still fucking. I don't care what you call it, man. At the end of the day, you're still having sex and hanging out and spending time together. I've asked this question before. If casual sex exists, why, after you have sex with someone for the first time, do you either instantly become closer or further apart? If it was casual, that wouldn't be the case. It would stay exactly the same. And sex will never result in two people staying the exact same way they were before it. I've had friends of mine, guy friends, get ghosted by girls after. I mean, that's a new phenomenon in my eyes. A guy has sex with a girl for the first time and she ghosts him. Hey, did you get home safely? Gone. And at that point, you don't even have to ask any questions, because at that point, the decision has been made and she's actually made it easier for you. Like, I think ghosting, on principle, I'm fully against the idea of ghosting, but you can't argue that it does make things a little easier. You're complaining about lack of communication. I mean, there is no greater communication than a complete ghost, because what that person is telling you is, I don't even want to entertain talking to you about this. I don't want to discuss what happened. I don't want to see you again. It's over. And it's an unhealthy way to go about it, but it is effective. When a friend has sex with a girl that she really likes, and the next day he starts sending me screenshots of their text conversations, asking me for advice about it, I just ask him one simple question. Is she warmer or colder than she was before you slept with her? That's it. If the answer is warmer, you're in the running. If the answer is colder, unless there's some extreme circumstance, like maybe she's involved with another guy and had a slip up and you've been a friend of hers for a while and you guys were drunk and something happened and there were a lot of other factors involved. Sure. Like, there's extreme cases in every example, but in the general sense, if the girl is warmer, you're in good shape. If she's colder, probably less so. I think you just have to be honest with yourself after the first experience. And by the way, man, a lot of guys and girls will go hard on themselves as far as their performance went. Maybe the woman is nervous and has a hard time relaxing and really getting wet, or the guy has a hard time getting hard. Previous episode of this podcast, hard time getting hard. It's more than the performance alone. It's an energy that exists between two people having sex that sort of expands beyond the physical act itself. So I think if the woman's rooting for you, if she comes in with an energy of, I think I want this, and you're nervous or you're drunk and you just can't perform the best, she'll give you another shot most of the time. Like, my buddy one time got ghosted by this girl. He's the one I'm referring to. And he was like, well, maybe it's because I had a hard time staying hard, for the first 15 minutes of it or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I don't think so. Because like I said, I've heard so many women prioritize so many other qualities in men over, sex. I just don't think that would be a deal breaker if she were feeling like there were a lot of other good things going on with the two of you. It's like being employed, man. If your boss wants you fired, he will eventually find a reason to fire you. If he wants to keep you because he really likes you as a person, he will exhaust every option he possibly can to keep you. So I think that's the same way with, hookups and relationships. If she's coming in very undecided or thinking it's only going to be a one-night thing and she's unsure about it anyway, and then you can't get hard, you just gave her perfect out. But I think that if she really wants it to work and you can't, I think she'll probably feel a little insecure and also kind of disappointed by the experience, but I don't think it'll be a deal breaker permanently. If you're a guy who's far beyond the attraction level of the person that you're bringing home, you'll probably get more leeway, right? If a supermodel, brings you home for a night and you're a guy who's like, not very desirable by most women's standards, you're probably not going to get another shot, right? Sometimes you'll see a woman with a guy and you'll be utterly clueless as to how this possibly happened. You're like, they have to be friends. And then you see like the guy grab the girl's ass and you're like, what is going on in the universe right now? Like you literally think you're in a dream. And then later on you find out that he's got a huge dick. She's like, oh, he's got a huge dick. It's like, she means huge hard dick, not huge flaccid dick. Nobody cares how big your dick is if it's hanging down to the ground. So many women talk about, the length and the width of the penis, but it has to be pointing in the right direction, which is up. People will sometimes talk about a guy who gets a lot of girls as like he fucks or he gets a lot of women, whatever. Like, it's great to have that leg up, to have that, like, be physically attractive as a man and be a taller guy and have a good personality and know how to really, really connect with women and people. And, all those qualities are great and will obviously give you the benefit of the doubt. But if you're a guy who continuously finds himself in a position where you're getting the girl initially, you're getting to the point where you're betting her, but a lot of times your experiences end there, that's a huge problem that needs to be addressed. I think that if a woman goes to the lengths of sleeping with you, I think in the vast majority of cases, she is rooting for you to come through. If you're getting mixed signals from a woman after you've slept with her, and really, really before you've slept with her also, but we're focusing on post-sex for the first time, it's usually because she's not sure. And not sure always veers to the side of no. Whether it's her conscious battling her subconscious, whether she really cares about you as a friend and has and values you emotionally and has for a long period of time, and now you finally cross that line and have become physically intimate with one another, oftentimes that will result in some level of mixed signals and mixed feelings. Ones that she really can't control herself, and she's trying to, search through to figure out an answer. But if you're friends with a girl and you guys sleep together and she's not sure after that she wants to do it again, she doesn't want to do it again. Oh, but by the way, guys, here's a warning though. If she does want to sleep with you again and you have sex with her the second time and it's way better than the first, let's say, you couldn't get hard during the first time, right? And somehow she liked you enough to combat that emotionally, to actually go into bed with you one more time, and you pop like 6 Viagra and you're like, I'm doing it right this time, and you give her the best fuck of her entire life, watch out, dude, because the craziness is waiting at the other side of that shit, dude. It is waiting. And then you don't have to pay for her Uber. By the second, she could pay her own Uber the second time. The sex has to be so good that it could undo the responsibility of paying for her transportation home. But you have to make sure you give her the best dick imaginable in order for her to pay for her own Uber. Because I guarantee you, she will be smiling in that Uber ride home, even if she paid for it, if the dick was good enough. Always pay for the Uber, I'm kidding. But like, you got to really give it to her that second time. I think guys really have this idea that women are generally more hooked after the first time they have sex with you than you are. And I don't think that's true, man. I have seen men literally throw their phones out windows because they can't handle the anxiety of anticipating when she's going to text him back the night after they sleep together. I mean, the day after they sleep together. Like, it's very reasonable for a guy to get more hooked after the first time than the girl is. But I think by the second time, it's at least much more balanced, or the girl's even slightly more into it. There's that old joke by Robert Klein. When I have sex with a woman for the first time, I'll cross the Sahara. Second time, come to my place. Which is great. In the beginning stages of hooking up with a girl, I actually think that it favors both people to do it at her place. I think that she feels more comfortable in her own space. You're leaving it in the girl's court, which I think she'll appreciate that level of control, specifically in a situation where, she's vulnerable and she's had sex with you for the first time or whatever. Like, you'll feel it out and you'll get a real clear sense, I think, if she wants you to stay over or doesn't want you to stay over. And it's much easier for you to leave and find your way home than it is for her to leave and find her way home. The worst case scenario is not that bad if she's at her place, because, depending on what she's hoping for and how the experience went, the worst case scenario would either be she's goes to sleep alone in her own bed and you go home, or if she really likes you and wants you to stay, you stay. So I think either way, it's probably a safer bet having sex at the girl's place for the first time if she invites you over. I mean, I think if you had to choose between both scenarios, I think that would probably be the one that benefits everyone, because what benefits you is what benefits her. If she feels comfortable and safe and in a good mood, you'll feel better about the situation. Part of being a man is making sure that you are making a woman feel comfortable in any given situation. What's great about going back to her place is if you get really attached, you could like leave an item of clothing and then text her the next day like, I forgot my handkerchief and I got to come back and get it, which is really good game, fellas. A man leads until a woman has to. So like if you take a woman out and you really like her and things are going well and you feel like there's a vibe, obviously it's in your head that you want to sleep with her. You can recommend lightly, hey, let's go back to your place and listen to music. And if she feels ecstatic or very enthusiastic about that idea, then go back to her place. But like if she shows tentativeness about going back to your place or you going back to her place, that's it. You let it go. You want a woman to feel comfortable. That's what it boils down to. So I hate the shit that guys pull with a girl. I'll just get her really drunk. Like, you're a scumbag, bro. You're a fucking scumbag. You don't want to get her really drunk. You want her to want to invite you back, or you want her to want to come back to your place when you invite her. It should be an enthusiastic yes. If it is not an enthusiastic yes, you are asking for trouble. The conquering is not her. It's conquering your own emotions and bad judgment. That's what you should be conquering, not her body. You should be conquering your own shitty impulses that you know are the wrong things. We talk about anticipation, that leads up to the first time you have sex. A lot of those shitty moves that maybe she wasn't able to fully process or recognize during the date that led you to actually sleep with her because maybe you guys just had 10 shots and got wasted and did it. When she wakes up from the night and reassesses and processes what happened, will make her not want to sleep with you again. So what have you really gained? Honestly. But yeah. Anyway, it turns out I found the confidence again to do these podcasts solo, and I don't want guests anymore. But no, somebody please come save me for next week's episode. If you have a therapy degree, that would be preferable. Who knows? You'll never know what's going to happen. It's going to be a surprise even to me. But thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Something Something with Eric Newman. I'm Eric Newman, and I'm here as usual with Joran, with John. We are here every week at the Comedy Cellar Studio on Tuesdays. See you soon. Bye.